So my name is Kenton Zhang and I'm in IB Visual Arts Year 2, SL Option B. And I will be talking about the requirements that I have accomplished this term. So I did 4 works of art. This being my first, second, third, and fourth. And I did 5 material explorations and 7 historical cultural explorations. So I will begin talking about my first work of art, which is this butterfly. So people will ask me what my inspirations for this work of art was, and I would say that it is M.C. Escher. I explored him early, he was one of the first artists I explored last year, and he continues to influence me in my works of art. And for me, he and I like to work with optical illusions. So he works with the lithography, and I like graphite pencils, but we still like the same subject matters of creating optical illusions. And the piece that I wanted to see if I can do myself was reptiles, where creatures, they come to life. These lizards, as you can see, walk around in a circle, but then some of them are drawn and then they walk out of the picture coming out alive and seemingly alive, and I wanted to do something like that. And this is where I got the idea of using a butterfly to create the same effect. So at first I practiced with pencil and pen here, and then I just wanted to see how I can create the effect. And for my final work of art, I decided to use paint. As you can see here, this was my process for trying to work it out. And I believe that I struggled using paint because it wasn't as realistic as I wanted it to be, because I couldn't really control the paint because I'm not a master painter. I'm more of a graphite pencil person. However, I thought it was successful in creating a butterfly. This is my first try creating animals, so I thought that was pretty successful. My next work of art is this one right here. For this work of art, we had to watch a video, and what I watched was a PBS documentary, I guess, about change. And a few of the artists there gave me this idea of what subject I should use for this work of art, and one of them was Ai Weiwei. He created a sculpture about the zodiac, and it made me think about my zodiac, but in the American way. So instead of the Chinese zodiac about animals, my American zodiac is the Sagittarius, and it got me to think about that, so I decided to use that as my subject matter. As you can see here, it's basically a half human and half horse archer. For the background, I decided to do landscaping because of another artist that was in the same video, which is Catherine Opie. And I decided to use that because for landscaping and just the skyline, there's a lot of different color and variation to it, so I decided to do that. And the way I should paint it, I got it from the artist Claude Monet, who was an impressionist artist, and he used broken color, and the effect was really, really nice, because basically broken color is that you don't directly blend the two colors together. And I decided to try that, and I explored tempera paint for that, and that's what I used from my final work of art, which was tempera. This was my broken color exploration. As you can see, the color don't really blend directly, but then the effect, it gives it a sort of a star, a night setting. For my third work of art, we had a word that we were given in class, and my word was perception. And for perception, I did several thumbnails of what I could do, and for perception, there's the the ways of knowing, and I decided not to do that. And then the five senses is another way that you can perceive something. And as you can see here, I did a few thumbnails, and I decided to stick with binoculars because there's a lot, like with binoculars you tend to see things more clearly. And I use graphite pencil for this work of art because I decided not to use paint anymore because it wasn't as successful as you can see in my first work of art, and I'm most comfortable with pencil. So I explored different ways of shading with the graphite pencil that I used in my final work of art. So for example, I did cross hatching here, and I did different ways of shading here. This work of art was successful in that I got the look that I wanted, which is the realism, but I could still improve on making these hands equal in size. As you can see, one of them is bigger than the other, and also find a way to prevent the graphite pencil from smudging as much. For my final work of art, which is this one right here, so at this time, or at the time I created this work of art, it was around the holiday season with Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's coming up. And that was my inspiration of joining all of these holidays. For Thanksgiving, I was thinking about how we create turkeys with hands. So I wanted to add that aspect to it where as kids we used to do that. So I decided to use hands, so for as a representation of Thanksgiving. And then for Christmas, I decided to do the star because the star is like the most ancient aspect of Christ's birth, which is Christmas, and which is why we celebrate it. And for New Year's we normally do fireworks, and that's why I decided to represent New Year's with fireworks. In this work of art, we see that I combine all of these elements together, and so here's the hands, the star, and the fireworks. So when I was practicing, I was making lines for the fireworks, but it didn't come out as nicely as I thought it would because they look just like random lines all over the place. So for my final work of art, I decided to do something like this where I use little dots as fireworks because like when fireworks go off, they normally split up and we see sparks of this, and this can be represented with dots as like the sparks that come out from the fireworks. So that's why I decided to do that. For this work of art, I chose to use color pencil and pen because, well, for the shading, I thought I was really good in using a pen in just the way I use it to create lines and different effects with pen. I tried it out with the work of art about the butterfly when I used the pen and the graphite pencil together, and the shading that I used came out pretty decent. So that's why I decided to do it with this. And based on how far away the darkness was from the star, that's how much. Like the further away from the star it is, the more strokes I made to make it appear darker, and that was extremely successful in this work of art. But something that I have to work on is just the dimension, like the 3D effect, because the hand it just really isn't on the same plane as the star, and I want it to be that way. But in this work of art, you can see that the hand is clearly too small. And the fireworks were decent, but then I don't think I planned out how the colors should come together, so that's another aspect I have to work on. Thank you.